Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Lunatics Radio Hour podcast. I am Abby Branker, sitting here with Alan Kudan.
Hello.
And today we have a brand new type of episode for you.
Yeah, it's a quick one.
We like to shake things up, if you will. It's been,
Stagnant.
No, but I'm really excited. We have 5 one-page horror stories that are all written by incredible authors. I think they're all brilliant and spooky and haunting in their own ways. And not to pit, artists against each other, but we are going to include a link in the description of this episode, and we'll, of course, share it out on social media for the public, the listeners, to vote on their favorite story. And we'll send the writers some cool stuff in the mail.
You at first gave me this wonderful imagery of a bunch of authors on an island battle royale style.
Yeah, that's what we like to do here. We like to really turn creatives into fighters.
I mean, Mike Macera with a bat covered in razor wire is terrifying.
That's true. I agree. Almost anybody with a bat covered with razor wire is terrifying. I also just want to say that almost all of these writers today are first-time Lunatics writers. So it's really cool to be able to feature work from new people who can hopefully join the Lunatics family.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a competition.
That's right. That's right.
So way to just throw them into the fire. How did we come up with this?
I think I just had a stroke of genius one day. I think that's really what it was.
Where it's, you know what? Let's get a bunch of new authors. Really have them put themselves out there.
New to us, yeah.
And then make them compete where there isn't just a winner, but 4 losers.
No, there's no losers. That's not the point. There's no losers. The point is that we're excited to kind of get the listeners involved, make this an interactive, immersive episode, if you will.
Okay, so there's a few other categories that they can vote on?
Yeah, we'll have some categories.
Okay.
Maybe we'll have scariest. We'll see. We'll you and I will pick the categories after we listen to all 5 stories.
Participation award?
Yeah. Everyone will win a participation award for sure.
Great. Listen, I just want everyone to win something.
Yeah.
Even if that's just a token of our affection.
Sure. Well, everyone already has that. I'm grateful for them very much.
I'm quite withholding of mine.
Don't I know it? I think this came about because we've been toying with the idea of doing a 48-hour film festival, hosting one for Lunatics, which I hope that we will do this year. But this almost feels like, something similar for writers, to give folks a narrower constraint than normal. It has to be within 1 page and has to be horror or creepy or, or whatever it is, and see what they come back with. And so I personally, as someone who sometimes writes or makes films and things like that.
Yeah, sometimes.
Enjoy having constraints and, different rails against a project because I feel like it makes me create something that I wouldn't organically, which is kind of cool.
Sure. So you put this whole thing together. I thought this was just a compilation of writers that happen to write short things.
No, we put out a call for 1-page horror stories, and these are the 5 semifinalists, if you will.
Okay, so they've already won something.
There you go.
Okay, mission accomplished. Sorry to all those that didn't make the cut.
Again, incredibly thankful to all 5 of these writers. I love all 5 of these stories. To keep things somewhat fair, and this could be for better or worse, Alan and I are going to read these stories instead of having a more professional voice actor read them because we wanted to kind of keep it an even playing field.
Oh, we are.
We didn't want to have an incredible voice actor really skew the narrative and how it comes across to the ear.
Or we could have just had an incredible voice actor do all of them.
I didn't think about that till this moment, so here we are.
All right.
Instead, you're stuck with us.
Sorry, everybody.
Oh, yes, truly sorry, everybody.
Oh.
Okay, so why don't we get right into it? Again, this is meant to be friendly competition, not meant to end in tragedy. We'll have some categories. Alan and I will pick them at the end. But without further ado, shall we read the first story?
All right. What do we got?
Well, first up, Alan, we have the story Airbag, written by Mike Macera. Would you like to read it?
Of course he's up first. I knew he was coming. Yes, I would like to read it.
And before you begin, Alan, I do just want to add a quick content warning for this one, that it centers around drunk driving.
You never listen to warnings because you don't think those things really are ever going to happen to you. In class, you were warned about this. Your psychology teacher said that before his prom, the class of 1977 was lectured on drinking and driving. They were shown violent images on a projector of mangled up bodies in motor vehicle accidents. This is what happened when people drove without a seatbelt, or drank beer, or both. Then, on prom night, your teacher's best friend got decapitated because he went 80 miles an hour into a median rail. He was given the same presentation as the other kids, but, like the others, he thought the same thing. That won't happen to me. This pops in your mind as you floor at home, going 95 down the Atlantic City Expressway in the pouring rain at 3 in the morning. It is the morning after your prom night, and there is no one ahead of you. Earlier that evening, you made a $20 bet with Pimply Pete Lancaster that you could convince your crush, Ava Delaney, to stay at your place afterwards. Before tonight, Ava does not even know your name, but your luck begins to change when you run into Ava and her clique at the Friendlies after party. You end up sharing a large booth together. You and your geeky AV club losers, with her and her field hockey populars. You get the nerve to talk over fribbles and share a lot in common. You both hate Mr. Crawford's science class, and you both agree that something should be done soon about global warming. You learn she's too sleepy to drive all the way home to Tabernacle, New Jersey. So, you offer her refuge at yours. She agrees as long as she can bring 6 of her friends that she promised to take home. You say your parents won't care at all. She'll see you there. You're driving now, her fribble-stained lips in your mind. You can't wait to get back. And then, your car loses traction, and you slam into the guardrail. You never listen to those warnings. You smash through the windshield with so much force that you won't process the shard of glass sticking in your forehead that will kill you immediately. One thing flashes before you, a revelation. Pete owes me $20.
I don't know if we should give our opinions on all these. I mean, I suppose that's our normal way. I don't want to curve the vote, but I like all of these stories, obviously, because we selected them, but I just think it's so relatable in a lot of ways. And obviously the ending is quite disturbing and upsetting, but the story itself and this idea of teenagers and all of us really thinking, well, that won't happen to me until something does, whether it be a car accident or any other number of things. And it just sort of feels like this perfectly written vignette of like the horror of everyday life. It's not supernatural. It's not a monster. It's not a murderer. It's just like the horror of tragedy, the horror of something that goes wrong too soon.
It was a very relatable story. Everyone knows that one person from high school that taken too soon, everything was looking good, and then car crash. And yeah, good job, Mike.
A sobering reminder, Mike. Well done. Started us off with a bang, for sure. We've said this before, we'll say it again, but our friend Mike Macera is he's one half, 50% if you will, of a little band called Beach Therapy. They have a new album out, and they have some amazing music videos out. So we'll leave the link for the album in the description of this podcast, because Beach Therapy,
or as you like to say,
Earworm Factory, is a great band.
That's great. Okay, so, well, I guess we are giving opinions on these now?
I suppose so. Those episodes.
All right, so how would you rate it out of 10?
No, I'm not going to rate it, but I liked it.
I'll give it a 10 out of 10.
Okay. I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10.
I'm going to give everyone a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm not going to give any ratings, so I guess it'll all shake out even.
Okay, so that balances with Abby's 0 to a 5. Sorry, Mike.
That's how math works, huh? Okay, we have a story next from our friend Sarah Luke. The story is called Not Myself This Week, and Sarah's actually the only writer today that her written work has been featured on the podcast before. So
she's not a first-time writer.
Not a first-time writer.
So we have a ringer.
Yes. Sarah's the one to beat, I suppose.
Sorry, Mike.
This is Not Myself This Week by Sarah Luke. My eyes shoot open as the sound of a piercing scream jolts me from my sleep. It's been like this for days now. The sounds echo in every room. There's no escaping it. The first time it happened, I froze with fear for minutes as I tried to figure out what to do. I've been in the house for days. I can't seem to get myself to leave. Even though the walls are starting to close in on me, I think I might be going crazy. I start to ask myself if it's really happening. Are the sounds real? Or are they some sick thing that my head has created? I can't tell anymore. I keep catching myself spacing out, almost as if some sort of trance keeps falling over me. I'm really not feeling like myself this week. I have to do something. Make some kind of move. It's been days since I've spoken to anyone. It occurs to me how much my best friend Denise must be worrying, but also how pissed she must be. I text her, and after giving me a hard time for blowing her off, she tells me about some cute guy she has for me to meet. I've had my mind so occupied the last few days. Some partying might be just what I need to snap back into reality. So I invite a few friends to come hang out later. At the very least, it might help drown the sounds out of my head for a little while. It occurs to me that I still need to clean the house. I haven't touched it all week, and at this point, I think it's starting to smell. The filthy floors are sticky under my feet. I can't believe I've let it get this bad. At one point, I find myself lost in a stubborn stain on the kitchen tile that won't seem to budge. My concentration on scrubbing is broken by the sound of the scream starting up again. I try to tune it out and wait for it to pass. But this time it doesn't stop. It's louder than it's ever been before. I can't take it. I make my way through the house and stop at the basement. I've been avoiding it. The door creaks as I push it open and descend the stairs. As I make my way deeper into the basement, the only light I can see comes from a small window. Suddenly, I stumble over something hard. I clumsily feel around for the closest lamp, and when I click it on, I look down to see what's blocked my path. A pair of stiff legs protruding from the darkness. My father's legs. I start to drag them towards the wall, next to my mother's body. My lower back aches from the weight, and I curse their name in disgust. Even now, they're bringing me pain and misery. The screaming continues, and I find myself getting angry. I tear the place apart looking for the source. As I look behind the couch, I lock eyes with my sister, who screams louder and pathetically tries to wriggle free from the rope that she's tied up with. I bring my fist down as hard as I can on her head and sigh in relief as she goes down without a fight. I consider ending it for her now to make my night easier, but honestly, I'm not ready for it to be over yet. The screaming has stopped, and I'm comforted to know that it was real. Once I'm upstairs again, I move the bookshelf in front of the basement door. There's a lot to be done. The two of them have to be dealt with before I finish with her. But before all that, I really need to make the playlist and punch for the party.
I gotta say, that's a real easy 10 out of 10.
Twist ending, eh?
Well, no, I thought the whole thing was she was prepping for company and just has to, clean up a little bit.
So good. I get chills. I got chills. I think Sarah's got such a knack for familial horror. The other time that we featured her work recently, she wrote a story for our amusement park horror episode, if you remember, and it also kind of dives into this familial horror, and I feel like it's really kind of her niche.
This was a really good mix of the mundane with the horrific spectacular.
There you go. Yeah, I think that's right.
Another one, perfectly relatable. You got people coming over and your place is messy.
That's always how we are. Yeah, perpetually messy.
Right, and we just gotta hide the bodies.
Gotta hide the bodies, yeah.
Sticky floors.
If you would like to hear more from Sarah, which I assume everybody will, you can follow her on Instagram at SarahLuke25. Again, we do a ton of collaboration with Sarah. Super fan of her, so definitely check her out.
You can also see her in the Lunatic short Lipstick.
That's true. She's in better Lunatic shorts than that, I would say, but she's excellent in Lipstick.
That's a good one.
Okay, Alan, on to the next. So this next story is written by Lori D'Angelo. Lori is a grant recipient from the Elizabeth George Foundation and an alumna of the community of writers at Squaw Valley. Her recent work has appeared in Anti-Heroin Chic, Bull, Bullshit Lit, Chaotic Merge, Ellipsis Zine, Indie Ink, and more. She's quite prolific, I would say, and quite published. You can find her on Twitter and Blue Sky at SCLLY21 or Instagram and Threads at Lori.D'Angelo1. And she lives in Virginia with her family, so a little introduction because, again, Lori, first-time writer, first-time collaborator, but hopefully not last-time collaborator, the Lunatics Radio Hour. And this is her story, Bloodbath.
Blood will have blood, they say. But it wasn't them who said it. It was him, as in Shakespeare's Macbeth. But he didn't mean it like I mean it. He meant that suffering requires more suffering. Like that's such a bad thing. What I mean is that once you get a taste for blood, you want more. Kind of like you want to exercise more once you start. Adrenaline rush. Pulse racing. You don't want to stop. Macbeth was meant to repudiate ambition, to caution people that there was something wrong with desire. You can want, but what if there is no but? What if to want is the greatest aspiration? Societies like to make people feel ashamed of wanting, as if there's something wrong with hunger, for food, for bodies, for blood. Lady Macbeth tried to cleanse the blood away, as if that would wash away the guilt. Out, damn spot. Her mistake was to repudiate her crimes instead of embracing them. Instead of reveling in the thick ooze of the red, she tried to cover it when she should have bathed in it. Instead of shame, she should have shrouded herself in glory. Imagine a different ending where the queen with the witches reigned supreme. The king, blood-drenched, wearing his crown without apology, welcoming the ghosts without fear. Bodies, you see, are just a vehicle to achieve a higher calling. When you get them where you want them, peaceful, on the sheets lulled into the false promise of safe sleep, seek out the exposed wrist. Look for the radial artery, thumb side, then take a taste. If it's pleasing, bite down, sink your teeth, drink in.
I have to say I'm on a real Macbeth kick recently. So this did
What do you
appeal to
mean?
me.
I don't understand.
I've been on a Sleep No More bender, I would say, which is heavily inspired by Macbeth.
What's Sleep No More?
Sleep No More is not super relevant to this episode, but it is an immersive show in New York City that's closing after like 13 or 14 years. And so I finally said, you know what, I should go. And since then, I've been really in love with it. Have gone quite a few times. The point is, I think Lori did a great job. I love that she uses a story that most people know quite well to help add so much imagery. Like she has one page, right? So the mechanic that she's using to kind of paint this beautiful picture and horrifying picture are these images that a lot of folks are really familiar with because Macbeth is so universal. So I thought that was really brilliant on her part.
I mean, for me, this story, I had 10 out of 10.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It was creepy. It was well written.
Mm-hmm.
Had that little Victorian vampire charm.
Which we love.
I don't know if there's vampires or just people drinking some blood.
Either way.
Who can say? But it was classy.
You ever crave blood like that?
Crave? No.
Okay. Okay. Well, all right. Let's hard pivot into our next story here.
Well, hang on. What do you rate this one?
I am not going to give any of them ratings. That's not what we're doing here.
Another 0. Well,
No.
it's okay. Tied with Mike.
It's not a 0. It's not a 0. Okay. We have 2 more stories for you. The next story is written by Alex Gray. Again, first time that this writer is appearing on Lunatics Radio Hour. Definitely not the last time. A longer version of this story was published in The Siren's Call in February of 2020. And you can follow her on Twitter at Indigo Dreamers and on Facebook at alex.gray.7. Again, we'll link all of this in the description. She also has a blog called idealreaderblog.wordpress.com. Definitely, again, check out all these writers. They're doing amazing things in the world, and we love supporting indie creators, indie writers, so
That we do.
we do. All right, here we go. Without further ado, The Hands You're Dealt by Alex Gray. My medieval ancestors made seraphic death masks to mark their passing. Their fine porcelain faces hang in our family crypt, like cheap Venetian Pierrot souvenirs. But in 1850, they chose a different memento mori. Handprints pressed into plaster plaques on each ancestor's 21st birthday. Young men commemorated before they were killed in wars on far shores. Today is my 21st birthday. Father leads me to the crypt, where he intends to hang my plaque next to his, although neither of us is dead. My father lifts the tablet, embossed with my handprints, and walks around the crypt as if introducing me to its other residents. He nods gravely, then lifts a yellowed cast from its hook. You have the hands of Augustus, butcher surgeon of the Crimean War, who saved many souls, if not many lives. Oh, I say, I'm an artist, pacific and introverted. I feel no kinship to my bloody-handed relative. You are not impressed, says my father, taking my hands, but the resemblance is remarkable. He presses my hands into Augustus's cast. They fit perfectly. The clay becomes hot. I feel Augustus's soul flow into me. Driven by arrogance, his desire to live is overwhelming. His voice moves my tongue to thank my father. His will moves my hands from his cast to mine. My soul is drawn into the virginal plaster. Will he have to wait long? My father asks, placing my plaque on the wall. When his family needs peace and beauty, no doubt a successor will present himself, Augustus replies. As they leave, making plans for conquest, I know that my wait will be eternal.
So, what'd you think?
Well, you know I have a soft spot for crypts and cemeteries, so this was another hit for me. I mean, I also just love the idea of soul transfers, and I thought all of these stories so far have had such a great sort of twist, clever twist ending, and I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was super clever, super spooky. The idea of being eternally trapped in a fucking plaster, plaque is just terrifying.
Dare I say, horrifying.
Especially when your family, your father is the one that sort of betrayed you. Like, what a
For me,
snitch.
this was a softball. 10 out of 10.
Oh, yeah. 10 out of 10. Another one. Another
Yeah,
hit.
easy win. This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime you're trapped underground, that's a special kind of horror. You can learn all about it in our underground horror episode.
Well, especially when it's just your soul.
I mean, yeah, but you're still there. I mean, your consciousness
Don't you
is.
think do you think it's scarier if your body is trapped somewhere or just your consciousness and it's separated from your body?
Whew. I read a book not too long ago where brains can basically just be downloaded
Mm-hmm.
and just put into someone's consciousness, can be put into storage. That sounds handy, right? Especially because they're dealing with making soldiers and stuff.
I'm praying for that to happen before I die.
Yeah, except that they realize that when people get shelved, you're still conscious. You just have no sensory input. And so everyone went insane.
Well, maybe now that they know that's an issue and that was just a book, in real life they can solve for it. I'm sure they're already playing with this.
I'm sure they can already do it, just not successfully.
Or maybe they're just saving it for the elite.
They can absolutely put a brain into storage. Bringing it back, can't do it.
Well, of course.
Just put it in a jar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this last story comes to us by Mariska Pachet. It was originally published in the Apex anthology Strange Libations. The anthology was available only as a Kickstarter reward for helping fund Apex magazine. So sadly, we missed that
How the heck did we get this?
because we
Did we hack?
hacked the mainframe. Mariska's poetry collection, Rivers in Your Skin, Sirens in Your Hair, which sounds amazing, came out about a year ago and received a nomination for this year's Bram Stoker Award. So please check it out. It sounds incredible. The awards ceremony actually is this month, so good luck to you, Mariska. And you can visit her website, mariskapachet.com, and all of her social handles will also link in the description below. Again, all of these writers do us this huge favor. They're so generous by letting us borrow their incredibly written pieces for this. So I would love it if we would all go and follow them and support them and keep sort of the indie art community alive. All right, Alan, without further ado, the story is called Gimlet de la Queue by Mariska Pachet. Take it away, Alan.
4 parts gin. 1 part sweetened lime lavender syrup for dreams. My sister and I interlace our arms and toast our mother at midnight. We gather every Thursday, following the recipe she left behind. My older sister brings the gin, sealed in an ivory flask. My younger sister brings the lime, preserved in our mother's favorite perfume bottle. I bring the lavender syrup, 3 sweet drops balanced on my tongue. Together in the house she left us, we shed our clothes. The ingredients rest on the granite kitchen island, waiting to be mixed. This Thursday, it's my turn. I lie naked on cold stone, my sisters on either side of me. My older sister draws her thame over my skin, parting my breasts along the scar we all bear. My younger sister breaks my ribs apart, one by one. I close my eyes, lavender infusing my throat, as my sisters cut out my heart. Our mother's recipe is precise. Pour the gin into the right atrium. Pour the lime into the left. Massage to mix, mimicking the beating of life. My older sister drinks from my artery. My younger sister drinks from my vein. I drink last from my aorta. Swallowing gin and lavender and lime, I lie back and dream the spells our mother never had the chance to share.
A spooky recipe.
I didn't realize we're also giving out recipes on this podcast.
I love this story so much for so many reasons, but one of them is that it's just like a total deepening, if you will, of like the lore of practical magic. It's like this sisterhood and this connection over, like a recipe. And, I don't know, there's something about it that's so reminiscent of that, but in kind of this elevated and darker way.
I love the heart as the shaker.
Mm-hmm.
But how does one drink from their own aorta?
Well, Alan, why don't you give it a try?
Well, I hope that when the full recipe book comes out,
Yeah,
it comes with pictures.
that's right. And in the meantime, we will support Mariska's collection of poetry because we've had a taste, if you will, of her writing, and so we know that it's going to be good. I also just love that it's different. You know, the formatting of it is different, and it plays with the short, the short format.
You know, this one is just different enough that I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10.
Okay, there you go. 10 out of 10s all around, just like you predicted.
I mean, I'm not always right.
But you are clairvoyant.
Sure, let's go with that.
So thank you all for listening. I hope you please follow the link in the description of this podcast episode and cast a vote for your favorite story. We will have... Oh, we didn't settle on what the category should be, Alan. Scariest?
Scariest.
Most visual?
Yes, most likely to be tasty.
Uh-huh.
Most relatable.
Okay. Sounds like you're doling out pretty specific.
Most slice of life.
Okay.
And best creature.
Well, you'll see what categories we come up with, but follow the link in the description of this podcast to place your vote. Again, it's all in good fun. There are no bad stories here, obviously. Thank you again so much to all of our writers. We are in awe of your talents, and we will also, again, leave all of the information that you need to follow and support these artists in the description of this podcast episode. This was a fun, sort of more casual stories episode, and it's always really exciting for me and Alan, I think, to break out of the Lunatics Library topics sometimes and just stretch our wings a little. So thank you guys for indulging us in this new sort of format, and hopefully we'll repeat it again in the future. Bite-sized horror. Next episode, we're coming back with a more historic, deeper dive. So we thought this would be kind of a good palate cleanser between series.
Could not agree more.
There you go. As always, thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks to all of our patrons who make this possible. Please consider joining us over on Patreon, and you get all kinds of surprises from us over there. Until next time, stay safe, stay spooky, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. If you'd like some bonus content, consider supporting us on Patreon to access our patron-exclusive podcast, Horror Movie Club.
Also, head to lunaticsproject.com to check out our spooky merch and apparel.
You can find us at Lunatics Project on Twitter and TikTok, and The Lunatics Project on Instagram and YouTube, where you'll find our short horror films, cemetery tours, and so much more.
And please rate and review. A little feedback goes a long way to help us grow and get more content out there.
Our cover art is by Pilar Kep, and musical bumpers are by Michaela Papa and Jordan Moser.